I'll call this meeting to order. If we could, I want to ask you, Mr. Shimmy, to do the invitation, if you don't mind.
Sure. If we could stand for the prayer and the pledge, please. Dear Heavenly Father, please watch over this body as we make deliberative decisions tonight and do the best that we can for our county. Lord, please watch over the people in this county as we go through the remainder of this year. Lord, please watch over us as we try to pass a budget that grants all the needs of the county. And Lord, please remind us that our job up here is to listen, and it is to serve, and not serve ourselves, but to serve our community and ultimately serve you, God. In your name we pray, amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you and welcome. If you don't mind, we can turn our phones down, please. Thank you. I want to go ahead now. Let's move for the adoption of the agenda.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Who motioned?
Mr. Thomason.
Ms. Thomason made the motion. Ms. Tucker, second. Any discussion? All in favor? Let it be known that it's unanimous. Thank you. We're going to move to public comments. And if I could this time, Ms. Tucker, would you read the rules out for the public comments, please?
Yes, sir. What I got here. Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. Public comments. Is an opportunity for members of the public to share information with council. It is not time for a debate or questions and answers from council. It is a time for council to receive input, and it's not a time for council response. In short, during public comments, council will listen to the public comments, but not comment on the public comments. And no offensive language, belittling, degrading council members or staff. Be on your best behavior, and none of those adjectives that we sometimes like to use to identify people. Thank you.
And let me say something too, if I can. Public comment is 5 minutes, folks, but the public hearing is 10 minutes, and that's going to be on the budget. So if you're here to talk about the budget, you can certainly do it in both. I don't care, but I'm just telling you that you'd have 10 minutes in the public hearing to do that, okay? But there cannot be any exchange with county council on that. That's a violation of the rules. All right, Mr. DeBose, how many do we have signed up tonight for public comment?
Mr. Vice Chair, there are 11. I will believe one is duplicative, though, so 10, I believe, Your Honor.
Your Honor.
Sorry, I've been in court.
I appreciate that.
Force of habit, but it's
Right.
applicable.
Get my wife to call me, that'd be in good shape.
All due respect, right?
Would you go ahead and recognize the first person, bring him up, please?
Amanda Stephen is the first speaker. Subject is 588 Owl Lane in Elgin.
Thank you. Welcome, Amanda.
Thank you. Hi, gentlemen. You'll get to hear from me twice tonight because I'm in the hearing too. So just a couple minor points in the public comment section. I know there was some conversation last meeting about the misinformation in regards to the Woodward Park plan. So I just wanted to direct the public and County Council to two different instances. The first one was in December when it was discussed about a recreation project plan. And that recreation project plan included the indication of a 10-year plan for Woodward Park to be a tournament baseball field, okay? The second instance of that is February 28th of 23. You can look at the meeting minutes. This included Woodward Park economic impact, which listed tournaments as a reason for the positive economic impact of Woodward Park. So there's no misinformation regarding the fact that we talked about tournament ball for Woodward Park. That is part of the plan. That has been included for the public, okay? The second thing I want to cover are the results of a KC GOP meeting survey. These responses come from your plugged in and active voters. and they should carry more weight than your average citizen. The people you want to rely on to get you reelected, these are their responses. Here's the question we asked. Are you in favor of the development of a Kershaw County Woodward Park sports complex? This is a multi-year $10 million upgrade. The responses, 19 for no and 1 for yes. The 1 yes said, I believe it would be great for our underprivileged youth. I also think it will drive a lot of money and business into our community. And here's a few of the no's. There's a more pressing need in infrastructure as well as upgrading Lugoff Elgin High School, as well as other needs. This is a misappropriation of funds. We need to appropriate that money to upgrade our sewer system. This adds value to all Kershaw County citizens and not a few that play baseball. I feel since we definitely have a grant funding available for sewer, we should focus on improvements to county infrastructure that will encourage both industrial and residential growth in the county. My understanding is that the grant matching funds for improvements to the park are still uncertain. I feel it is irresponsible for the county council members to consider the park improvement before providing necessary infrastructure for growth. Another comment said, parks and recreation are look good, feel good efforts for the councilman's political benefit and take needed funding away from more important infrastructure needs. When all needed infrastructure is in place, then we should consider any excess funds for park and recreation improvements. Are the parks overcrowded and overused at present? What are your top priorities for Kershaw County to focus time and money on for the next year? Preparation and planning for bringing Kershaw County into the 21st century. Planning for and execution of programs to maximize job growth and industrial and commercial viability without losing Kershaw County's unique character. And the last one I'll cover. We have other needs in the community that need to be fixed rather than a park. Houses are coming in and our sewer system is constantly being worked on. We have multiple places without access to emergent care. Thanks, I yield my time.
Thank you so much. Next, Mr. DeBose.
Tim McCormick.
Welcome.
My name is Tim McCormick. I'm representing the developer for an ordinance of changing the rezoning on E, first reading, in Ridgeway, South Carolina. So I'm here to answer any questions. I also have a petition of over 100 signatures that are for the development and the rezoning. We've worked this site since 2016, late 16, when Dollar General has identified.
Could you talk directly into the mic, please?
As Dollar General has identified this area as goods and services needed, which is exactly what they need. Because I am the broker, I have worked this site for many years. And there's a BP station there. We wanted to go right next door to it. They're not going to sell it to us. I have met with Larry Sharp and Blythewood Oil Company at his company in Blythewood, and they were unwilling to sell. We also, right directly across the street, is hundreds and hundreds of acres with one owner that would not sell at a reasonable price and would also not accept our stipulations of restrictions. Therefore, this is the only site available that we is large enough for us to build a market. So this is a DG market with fresh produce, fresh meats, and a regular Dollar General behind it. So it is a 12,480 square foot store that would serve the community. And I don't know if you guys, I have made copies of the petition and the way the store is going to look. If I can hand those out.
If you would, Mr. McCarty, could you give those to the administrator? He'll hand those to us. And also, this, under the public comments, this is a time that we can't respond. We're just going to hear from you.
I understand.
And this is first reading tonight. It has to go through 3 readings as well.
Understood. I'm just here for any questions that need to be answered.
Absolutely. We appreciate that.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Mr. DeBose.
Next speaker is Shannon, I believe it's Wines on rezone.
Welcome.
Thank you, sir. Shannon Mines. I live at 2593 Ridgeway Road, a half a mile from the proposed Dollar General Marketplace. And one of a few people within a very close proximity of the proposed site that are against it.
Excuse me, can we stop his time? I will let you finish, Danny, and sit down then, so we can have our full attention on you. Hold on one second.
Thank you.
And I apologize.
That's okay. I probably could have finished by the time he's finished.
Thank you, Mr. Temple.
I'm not a very long-winded guy.
Go ahead.
But, yeah, I do have a concern about this rezoning being, smack dab in between several residential places, as well as right across the street from several residential places. I've only been up here for about 10 years in Kershaw County. I used to live down in Sumner County in Dalzell. And one of the reasons I left Dalzell is because, sure enough, they built a Dollar General kind of across from me. And I just didn't like being that close to a convenience store. I really enjoyed this area out there in Salt Pond. It's very quiet, very dark, and I'd like to see it remain that way. Mr. Tim showed me the proposed store, and it's beautiful. I like it. I just wish they could find maybe somewhere another half mile or a mile away from my residence, because I invested quite a bit of money in both land and a home that I built out there, and I want to die there in another 40 years and hopefully not lose any sort of value on that house when it comes time to sell it later on down the road with having that Dollar General up the street. If that store would have been there 10 years ago, I would have passed right on by this lot of land. And a lot of other people have been buying up land and building houses right next to me. And I'm pretty sure we're all in agreement with the issue with this. So that's all I have to say about it for tonight.
Thank you so much.
Yes, sir.
Mr. DeBose?
Next speaker is Irving Branham on the rezoning.
Welcome.
Thank you. Mr. Vice Chairman, council members, my name is Irvin Branham, and I live at 324 Rapid Run Road in Camden. I'm here to ask for your support to change 2689 Ridgeway Road classification from RD to B2. This has been a family land for many, many years. And my brother and I believe that a person should have the right to do with what he or she wants to do with their land. We also believe that you should be a good neighbor. Many of the people in this area are retired. They lived on fixed incomes. These people need a grocery store nearby. Many of them are elderly and have to drive 20 miles round trip to the nearest grocery store. A Dollar General, especially one of this type, would be a great asset to this area. In addition, the revenue that it would generate for the county. I would like to take just a moment and ask those that live right around the area in this room to stand up that support it.
Welcome. Continue.
Also, before they sit down, I'd like for those that live on Indian Mound Road, which is the land adjoining the property for Dollar General, would you raise your hand? Okay.
Thank you.
We also have a petition, which you have now received, of more than 100 people within a 2-mile radius that have signed the petition supporting the Dollar General. I want to thank you for your time, and I hope that you'll hear the needs of this community. Thank you.
Thank you. And understand this, this is going to be first reading tonight. If it passes, it'll go on to second reading. There'll be 2 more. Next, Mr. DeBose,
Marshall Branham, subject is rezone.
welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair, County Council members. My name is Marshall Branham. I am a descendant of William Levi Branham. He was born in 1867 and was my great-grandfather. He and my grandmother lived in the area of Smyrna Church, had a vast amount of land in the surrounding area. My great-grandfather served his community in terms of providing for the needs. He owned and operated a sawmill, a grits mill, and a shingle mill that served the community in the Smyrna Church area. His estate passed down his land holdings through generations. Through the generational pass down of the land, my brother and I have owned 6.3 acres of that property for 33 years. We have never developed any of that land for any purpose or ever considered selling any of it until we were approached to have a Dollar General built. As my great-grandfather left a legacy in providing for the needs of his community, using our land that was once his land to further provide for the needs of the people today would be a continued legacy of my great-grandfather. I am speaking of rezoning the property at 2689 Ridgeway Road. I understand that any changes in society will have some objections because you cannot please all the people all the time. Abraham Lincoln used a phrase similar to this nearly 2 centuries ago. Many times, objections are refutable and should be discounted. The community has spoken by way of petition that they have no issue with rezoning our property to B2 and are excited to have a Dollar General built on that location. Over 100 residents have signed that petition. And we do, as Irvin showed, that signed the petition, a number of people here tonight to show the support for that. I understand that each county council member now has been given a copy of that petition. So, I have 2 rhetorical questions to council. Number 1, if 95% of the people are in touch with the needs of their community, then it would make sense to support this, right? Number 2, do you support a property owner the right to do something with his property that will improve the community? Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Mr. DeBose next.
Randy Ray, rezone.
Welcome.
I hope it's okay that I have my phone because I have my notes on my phone.
It is absolutely fine.
Okay. Just wanted to make sure I didn't miss out on anything. My name is Randy Ray. I live at 2605 Ridgeway Road, which is 0.4 of a mile away from the proposed Dollar General. I, like Shannon, am one of the people who are speaking against the Dollar General. I built my home at this location in 2021, and when I picked this location, I specifically picked it because of it being rural. And the only thing in close proximity is the BP, which does have things like milk if, I'm ever out of milk and need to run quickly to the store. But I'm less than 8 miles away from Lugoff, which has multiple grocery stores. It has everything that I need in Lugoff, and again, that's 8 miles away. So even with my gas light on, I can still make it into town and back home to get the groceries that I need. And it was spoken about last meeting about that needing to be there for that reason because of the produce that's going to be at this Dollar General. My time didn't start, just to let y'all know. I'm a teacher, so I can get long-winded.
I'm not going to try to stop you.
Okay. But I understand that they have this petition that has gone around. I would be very interested to know when they collected this petition. I have 24-hour surveillance on my property. As soon as somebody drives onto my property or steps foot onto my property, I'm immediately notified. And I have gone back and checked and checked and checked, and nobody has ever come to my location to ask me about this. The immediate neighbors that I have around my property, I asked them. They also were not contacted. And at the very last meeting, it was said that some people within at least 2 miles away were people that were asked on this. Again, I'm 0.4 miles away. I was never asked about this. There was a letter, 2 letters written last meeting that I hope you guys have possession of. One of them was somebody who did sign the petition and is actually going back and saying that they're now against it because it was proposed to them when they did sign the petition that it would be farther away than it actually is. And then the second one was from the neighbor whose property directly touches the location where the Dollar General is going to be, and they are an elderly couple. I'm not sure who they are by name, but they wrote about how they were against it due to the traffic that it would bring in, the bright lights that would constantly be there. So I hope that you guys have access to that, or that you're able to gain access to that. But like I said, I moved out to this area to be rural, and though I'm not completely rural and separated from everything locally, I'm close enough that I can get somewhere if I need to. We do have 3 Dollar Generals within an 8-mile radius from this location, so I don't see why another Dollar General is needed in that proximity. But the thing that concerns me the most out of everything is that if this rezoning is passed and Dollar General decides to back out on it, it's not just that they're rezoning this for Dollar General. Anything commercial can come here. So that's also a concern to me that was brought up actually at the last meeting, and I didn't think about it until it was brought up there, but that's definitely concerning to me that just anything commercial can be there. And like I said, at the last meeting, the Dollar General representative spoke about bringing fresh produce and food into our community. I'm a teacher. Like I said, I teach at Blaney Elementary, which is about 8 miles or less away. And I actually have a student in my class whose parents opened a produce stand in Lugoff to be their main source of income. I would much rather support a small business and the parents of somebody who's trying to provide for their family than a multi-million corporation like Dollar General. My neighbors and I have done extensive research on Dollar General and what it brings to an area, and we're also concerned with the safety. A lot of articles talk about, there's a specific article that CNN put out, and it talks about the robberies and there was a shooting. The specific one I'm talking about was a worker was threatened multiple times, and he ended up bringing a gun to work because he feared for his safety. Dollar General wasn't listening to him. He ended up shooting somebody there. There's just a whole bunch of safety issues and safety concerns that we brought up at the last meeting that concern me. So I'm concerned about safety as far as what it's going to bring into our community. I'm concerned about the trash that's going to be populated because of a Dollar General being there. And I'm also concerned with, as Shannon spoke at the last meeting, about how that's a hill. It's a 45-mile-an-hour zone. We have a lot of big trucks and stuff that go through there. There's a lot of accidents at that four-way as is. We're just very concerned for safety in general. But my biggest number one concern is, let's say tomorrow Dollar General backs out of this sale. If the rezoning's passed, anything can go there. And there are multiple of us that have built out there to be rural. I'm on 6 acres. My neighbor's on 8 acres. I've got another neighbor building right next to me. He's on 6, almost 7 acres. We're out there to be secluded and to be rural and to keep our families and our future families in a rural area. And my hope would be that you guys would consider those of us who don't want our property values to decrease and would like to stay rural. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next,
Luther Harmon on rezone.
Mr. Harmon. Yes, absolutely. Next, Mr. DeBose.
Bobby Johnson on rezoning.
Welcome.
My name's Bobby Johnson. I live at 2346 Ridgeway Road, about a mile from where the Dollar General's supposed to be built. I really don't have any objection to it. I don't see where to do anything but help the neighborhood instead of hurt the neighborhood. And that's my opinion of it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson.
Carl Branham, rezone.
Mr. Brown. Welcome.
My name is Carl Branham, and I live at 2663 Ridgeway Road. This store's coming up there. It's convenient to everyone. I live about 300 miles from the store. And I know when you're on a fixed income, you got to save all you can on everything. And that would be convenient to the ones that, is on fixed income. And as far as the traffic this lady was talking about, we're going to have traffic everywhere. And far as being robbed or shot, it's even dangerous to come out your door, much less a store being there. But when you consider, county council, there are 100 people that is for it, and maybe 10 or 15 is against it, weigh the facts out on that, and you can see, and a lot of them that's voting for you, it's more voting for you than it's against you. So I think the convenience of the price of the store, the stuff in the stores would take care of the rest of it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I just want to ask you a question. Did you say 300 miles?
Yeah, about 300 miles, Jimmy.
Okay, you meant that?
300 yards, a little less than 200 yards.
I know where you live. Thank you. Next, Mr. DeBose.
Janice can't quite make out the last name.
Welcome.
My name is Janice Mesa. I live at 37 Indian Mound Road. I've lived there all my life. I can remember when I caught the school bus, there was no traffic there, and that's when it was rural. Okay, I'm talking back in the 60s. Growth has been nonstop on that side of the county for the last 20 years, and it's not going to stop. I'm for the Dollar General because I can't see where it's going to make the traffic any worse. There's more houses going down 34 Highway coming up. It's not rural. I mean, it's going to come a time that's all you're going to see. In fact, it would be convenient for me to be able. I live closer to the location it's going than Carl Brownham does. And to me, I think it would benefit our community. And like I say, it was rural at one time, but it's not the way I remember. And you got I-77 coming out of Charlotte and all these trucks coming through. This isn't going to make a big difference to me because I know what the traffic is now, and 34 is busy. This is just, just a convenience for the people there. So I am for the Dollar General. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
We are back to Mr. Luther Harmon.
Oh, we've gone through all 11?
Yes.
Yes.
10. It was 10.
10, excuse me. Mr. Harmon, are you here?
Mr. Chairman, if I might, Mr. Harmon had texted me earlier in the day and asked me what time this was, because I suspect he can't make it, but I know he was going to speak generally in opposition, but I'll let him speak. I explained to him there were 3 readings, so he did know about the time.
Okay, good. Well, we'll move on.
There we go.
I will extend one thing, though, since I am running the meeting. Is there anybody else who didn't get a chance, that you came in late to sign up? If you have something you want to say, you can come up and do it. There's nobody else. Very good. All right, public comments is closed. We're going to move now to public hearings. There's actually 2 public hearings, and the difference on this, you get 10 minutes instead of 5 minutes. But there's still no interaction, communication, question or answer with county council. I apologize for my voice. All right, so the first public hearing, which is 6A, will be an ordinance to provide budget appropriations for Kershaw County purposes in the County of Kershaw for the fiscal year beginning July 1, 2023 and ending June 30, 24, and adopt and implement the charge and collection service of user rates and fees for the other tax purposes and county appropriation purposes and matters related thereto. Of course, first reading we had on the 23rd and 25th of 23, and first was on April 25th, and then the second reading was on May 23rd, and this is the 3rd reading we'll have tonight of the budget once we get to it. So this public hearing is for that. Mr. DeBose, how many did you have sign up?
3.
Okay. Would you call the first person?
Mr. Vice Chair,
Yeah.
would you like for me to read the guidelines?
Go ahead.
Okay.
I thought I covered them, but yeah, you're exactly right. Go ahead.
I'll was just doing what you asked me.
I know you are.
Okay.
And I appreciate that.
No problem. Prior to the public hearing, persons wishing to speak should sign up to speak. Immediately prior to the public hearing, it shall be announced that persons wishing to speak must identify that they wish to speak. When the public hearing is open, a person to be notified as how many people have signed up and identified and in what order. Persons will speak in the order in which they signed up and identified, and the order they have identified themselves as wish to speak. Each person can speak a maximum of 10 minutes. That means you don't have to take all 10 if you don't need them, unless you're Miss Brandy and she likes to teach. So comments of public hearings should be germane to the matter subject or subject matter, however you want to put it, to the public hearing, which should be liberally construed. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Tucker. Those rules will apply to both public hearings. All right, Mr. DeBose.
First speaker for the FY 23-24 budget is Amanda Stephen.
Welcome back.
Round two. Last time I was here, I spoke about truth. Trust only comes from knowing people who are being truthful about what's going on, especially in government. We must get back to the truth with we the people, or we the people will put someone else in that will be truthful and provide transparency. This body just 2 weeks ago tried to say that they were blindsided by a sewer grant, given that the sewer grant was applied for being contingent on the use of ARPA funds. These funds meant to go to infrastructure or other areas hit hard by the pandemic, like first responders. So let's get to the truth, shall we? Truth. In September of 2022, this body applied for a South Carolina Infrastructure Investment Program grant that was contingent on ARPA fund allocation of $9.9 million. Truth. In March of this year, this body approved a motion allocating $6 million of ARPA funds to recreation pending a review from the Finance Committee. Truth. In April this year, this body, including the Finance Committee, received communication regarding the grant approval that stipulated the $9.9 million was to be allocated from ARPA funds. Truth. In May of this year, just a few weeks after the approval from the grant was received, this body approved a motion, and I quote, $6 million in ARPA funds will be allocated in the budget for use on suitable recreation projects and to the extent necessary, reallocated from sewer projects. Truth. In June of this year, after this body willingly and knowingly reallocated funds from ARPA from sewer to recreation, the grant was then accepted, signed, and returned. All truths that are all in writing. If you think we believe you when you say you had no idea about this grant, I can't help you. If you were sitting on the Finance Committee where this motion in May of 2023 came from, you had to know you were reallocating funds based on the fact that it was stated in the motion. Is it any wonder we the people don't trust you? You sat there last meeting and lied to all of us and expected us to not do the homework. Shame on you. But I don't just want to focus on the sewer grant today, especially since it appears the grant agreed to assist you in allowing only $2.5 million of taxpayer match to accept the grant. Never mind that we somehow have $2.5 million in reserves to pay for this. We'll focus on that a different day. This is about the ARPA money going to infrastructure, public safety, and utilities. This is about the line item in this budget that specifically calls out recreation projects for $6 million that will now force this money to go to recreation, no matter who sits on this council and how far into the future these projects go. What a nice way to reward your constituents. Put them on the hook for spending $6 million in taxpayer funds just on recreation in this economy. In other economy, I might be standing right in line with you saying, let's spend money on baseball fields. But this is not an economy where your constituents have excess cash to allow them to focus on sports for their kids. The Goldman Sachs Housing Affordability Index is based on 3 factors: household income, housing prices, and mortgage rates. That number right now, that number right before the 2008 financial crisis was 75. In 2013, that number was 148. Now, it's a historic all-time low of 70. No one can buy houses right now. Where will all your baseball fans move from that will use this recreation park as an excuse to purchase a house in Camden? Because at the moment, according to The Economist, middle-income buyers can only afford 23% of homes. That number was 50% only 5 years ago. Seems our growth problem may solve itself given the affordability is so low. Home sales this year are down 40% just in 1 year. Again, I say to you, where is the influx of people going to come that will use this new ballpark that no one can afford from a house that no one can afford? How about inflation? Despite this being avoided in all news agencies, unfortunately for us, inflation is still around. Consumer price inflation rose 4% in just May alone. Car insurance prices rose 17% in 1 year. Prices for vehicle repair and maintenance rose 14%. How about those 4th of July parties that we're all going to be having next weekend? Dairy's up 10%, bread's up 22%, soft drinks are up 14%, and beer is up 8%. Chips, those are up 15%, and these are all numbers in the last year. All in all, your 4th of July barbecue is going to cost 17% more this year than it did last year, according to The Hill. And that doesn't count the fact that inflation started building well before this time last year. While overall inflation numbers have cooled from 4% to 9%, that does not mean your constituents are not feeling it. Just look at this next week's festivities and ask folks at the parade on Saturday if they're happy about the economy. The Fed skipping rate hikes this month has some saying it will be the worst yet to come. Fed economists say a historic 37% of companies in the US are in big trouble and warn that could worsen the fallout from fighting inflation. These companies will not be hiring new workers, opening new plants, or ramping economic production. If Kershaw County is looking for companies to come save the day, this is not a good economic outlook that you're able to line this up. Look, I'm here every meeting reminding you of the priorities, reminding you that you have to be open and transparent. We the people are watching, and this new council already has a bad track record. Do the right thing. Reject the budget. Call a special meeting on Thursday before the July 1st deadline and amend the budget to reallocate the funds properly, to lower EMS response time from 20 minutes in part of the county, to upgrade the jail to avoid the ceilings falling down. Again, all high priority items that this council deemed high priority, not me, you. Recreation is not the priority for we the people. So why is it for you? Truth and transparency. This is what this county needs to start to trust their government. And it looks like we'll be disappointed again. Thanks.
Thank you so much. I'm glad we got some truth tonight, because I'm going to get some facts in my council, our chairman briefing as well. So truth and facts normally go together pretty well. All right, Mr. DeBose, who's next?
Belinda Webb.
Belinda Webb.
Belinda Webb.
Got you. Welcome.
Amanda Stephen is a hard act to follow. Good evening. I'm a 20th year resident of Kershaw County, and I spoke at the last meeting regarding my concerns about the wavering to the commitment of the usage of the ARPA funds for funding water treatment and sewer needs. So I'm going to expand upon that and provide some context this evening by sharing a personal experience that I had last June. Last June, I developed persistent, unexplained hives and swelling, and I was encouraged by my physician to examine all changes in my routine to identify the reason for the problem. One of the possible culprits suspected was a recent breakthrough in high mineral concentrations in our well. My husband and I used this opportunity to look into transitioning to public water service, as we wanted to examine this situation based upon a cost-benefit approach, something I would recommend that the council do. Cost-benefit for the entire county. I called Cassett Water, the provider for many families on the street leading into our property. I was surprised by the response I received when I contacted Cassett Water. It was clear that no one had any interest into looking into how to achieve water hookup for my home. It became a negotiation for service. I explained that what had formerly been a group of mostly vacation and second properties was now an enclave of full-time residents that may very well be interested in assisting with infrastructure costs to have access to city water. I ended up being passed from Pam Wise to a Mr. Boykin, who said an engineer had to be assigned to examine the feasibility of laying lines to our and other homes in the area, and that an appointment wouldn't be available likely for a year or longer. Here, I have an email in my possession when this nonsense started of June 24th, 2022, and I went on that crazy train for about 6 weeks before I finally gave up. Mr. Boykin asked me yet a third time if the road leading into our home was a public road. I assured him it must be because the county sent trucks there to grade and regrade it constantly, and RiverNet had crews laying cable for high-speed service at that very moment. They never moved forward with me, and I was tired of the lack of urgency, tired of calling and emailing, and finally my husband and I spent well over $4,000 on our well, and it's working fine. In addition to personal residents' concerns with water usage and water availability and options, our local gas station, Dinette, the River Deck, probably well known to many, routinely has to close their restrooms for public use and direct customers to the porta potties on the property in the back during the height of the summer season. Suffice it to say, I take issue with the comments that were made last meeting, minimizing the need for serious examination of our water facilities for both businesses and residences in this county, and instead such a rush to put so much of those ARPA funds that were designated for such a project as water and sewage treatment to ball fields. The comment was made last meeting that only 4,800 residents were on public water. Well, based on my own experience that I just shared, I find that comment a little misleading. How many people have actually been given the choice to be on anything else? How many families have gone through this same situation that my husband and I have been through, but perhaps don't have the means that we have when options aren't provided? Finally, last Friday, I dropped in to see my husband at the tennis center that was built not so long ago that services less than 1/1000% of our population in our county. It was done, I think, at the urging of at least some of our prior county council, and is currently staffed and maintained with taxpayer dollars as far as I understand. On a beautiful afternoon in the middle of the summer with kids out of school, my husband was the only person in the facility that wasn't an employee. A part-timer was practicing his tennis returns on the ball machine, and someone was there cleaning the facility. That's a 3-to-1 ratio of employees to customers on a Friday afternoon. This facility that charges fees to approximately 100 tennis members and allows pickleball players to play for free, and hasn't yet supported itself financially. On this day, the largest population there was actually a group of birds that have built nests atop the columns in the facility to raise their young. I guess it's so quiet and peaceful there because they don't really have any customers that it's probably a really safe place to breed your young. We were told then, as we're being told now, build it and they will come. And now again, yet another council is serving another special interest group's needs and concerns that supports a fraction of a percent of our population, and many who you're proposing to serve with rec ball don't even live in the county by choosing this. You are supporting people that aren't even here. If you try and tell me that this refund allocation is fiscally conservative use of taxpayer funds, well, to paraphrase Judge Judy, please don't tinkle on my leg and try to tell me it's rain. Thank you, gentlemen. I yield my time.
Thank you for those kind words. Next.
Sissy Griffin Ballou.
He's getting better. Welcome.
Good evening, gentlemen. 2 Tuesdays ago, I stood before you as a concerned grandmother. The same concerned grandmother stands before you today. This time, she's upset with each and every one of you, and the couple of you that have been here forever, she's furious with. My grandson, 2 nights after I stood before you, I believe I told you he was on the all-star team for the county and was going to be playing in a tournament in Hartsville that coming weekend. 2 nights after I spoke to you guys, my grandson, while fielding a ball at Larry Doby, ran into the fence that was supposed to have a cap on it. 6 stitches. From here to here. 6 stitches. But only 1 inch away from an eye being lost or someone being blind. Your neglect to keep up what you already currently have needs to come before anything new you're wanting to do. You're wanting to redo a ball field that if it rains for 3 hours will flood. You don't have parking for. It's as antiquated as the day is long. And you have all these other properties that need work with field fencing, bathrooms, concessions, parking. Do you have any idea what it's like to go up into Larry Doby and drive through the parking? There is a massive hole that no matter how much dirt you guys throw in it, because I've had dirt thrown into it twice from other people. Mr. Burns, twice in the last 4 years, has filled up this hole. It's 8 feet wide, 8 feet long, and almost 2 feet deep, and it's there twice every ball season. I don't know what happens to this dirt. It magically disappears. But you have problems that you're not willing to take care of now, and yet you want to give us a shiny new something. Let's take care of what we have before we go off trying to come up with something new and different. You don't have the support system for your ball field or your tournaments that you're wanting. As a member that was of the Columbia Visitors Bureau and its tourism development, I helped bring the Columbia Convention Center to light. We couldn't do it because Bob Coble, the mayor, wouldn't have it. He didn't even want to talk to us. He showed us one picture, and it was 9 o'clock at night in Columbia, South Carolina. There were hardly any dots of life. There was no one there. He says, before we can have a convention center, you've got to have something for the people to do. And that's how you got the Vista. The Vista had to come first. The economic development to be the foundation for the convention center had to come first. The economic development for your traveling ball tournaments has to come first, and you don't have it. You have almost 1/4 of the beds you need. Now, I'm an old hotel girl, so I talk a different language than you guys do. That's, okay? You don't have the tables you need to feed these people on. We're a small market, so we're only going to get small blueprint floor plans for hotels, which means 40 rooms, maybe 60. A 40-room hotel will hold 2 ball teams. You have 4 of those in this county that are worth selling. you don't have what you need, and you're not taking care of what you have. Gentlemen, I have met almost all of you personally, and I respect all of you personally. Some of you I have known quite longer than others. Some of you I have met just very recently. But anytime money comes into the equation that causes the problems that this $6 million that you're adding to a $6 million to another $2 million to make $14 million, this $6 million is causing problems in this community. And I'm sorry, anytime money causes problems in a community like that, it's probably not based on a firm, good, godly foundation. This concerned grandmother doesn't want to have to be concerned for her grandchildren playing ball. 1 inch from the loss of an eye. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you so much. Next, Mr. DeBose.
That concludes the speakers on the budget, Mr. Vice Chair.
Out of courtesy for the audience, is there anybody else who didn't sign up who would like to speak on the budget? That hearing is closed. Okay, we're going to move to our second public hearing, and it's dealing with the 23-24 millage rate. Mr. DeBose, how many signed up?
Mr. Vice Chair, I have no signups on the 23-24 millage.
Is there anybody that would like to speak on that? Okay, I'll close the public hearing for the millage. Okay, we're at the approval of the minutes. I have a motion.
Mr. Vice Chair, I make a motion that we approve the minutes from our last meeting.
Do I have a second?
I would second.
Are there any discussions? All in favor? Let it be shown that it's unanimous, minus the chair lady is not here. I had something to say. I'm sorry they left. Okay. All right. So we did take the final vote on that. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Let's go to the ordinances, okay? Third reading. Fiscal year 23-24 budget. This is an ordinance to provide budget appropriations for county purposes in the county of Kershaw for the fiscal year beginning July 1, 2023 and ending June 30, 2024, and adopt and implement the change and collection of service and user rates and fees and for other tax purposes and county appropriation purposes and matters thereof. Okay, this is third reading. Do I have a second? Do I have a motion, excuse me?
You?
I would move to adopt the budget.
Okay, Mr. Schmidt moves to adopt the budget. Is there a second?
Second.
There's a second. Is there any discussion?
Mr. Vice Chair, if you would, I would like to make an amendment to the budget that the Finance Committee has approved and recommends back to council.
You had the floor.
Thank you.
You need a second?
Yes, sir.
Second.
Give me just a minute. I'm making some notes right quick. Okay. You should have some supporting documents in your agenda package.
We do.
Yes, sir. So, Mr. Vice Chair, what I would like to ask at this time, if you will flip to that and you see where there's about 5 items listed there in reference to the budget, and you also have the A-tax, which makes 6 items. I would like to separate that into 2 readings, the 5 for the budget and then 1 for the A-tax, unless you want me to do them all in one or individually.
It's whatever the council wants to do.
Okay. Well, there's no objections. I'll do the 5 in one, and then we will handle the A-tax separately. Is there any objections?
No objection.
No objection.
Okay. Hearing none, I would like to make a motion, Mr. Vice Chair, from the Finance Committee, that we amend the budget to reallocate $14,286 of a combination of administrative contractual services FOIA and non-departmental fuel to increase the salaries of all Kershaw County FTEs, which is full-time employees, to at least $13 an hour. And that would affect about 6 personnel. Second one, I would like to make a motion to amend the budget approving the fiscal year 24, okay, it's right in here, 24 accommodations tax grant recommendations with an adjustment of moving $1,000 from the South Carolina Equine Foundation to amend the American Legion for a total of $1,500 for the American Legion. This recommendation does not change the overall commitment or recommendations of the ATAX money. It just reallocates it within what the recommendations that came from the ATAX Commission. I make a motion to reorganize planning and zoning employees to allow the additional FTE by reclassifying existing planning manager and budget of official positions. This allow for an additional FTE at no budget increase. So that money is inside that budget, inside that line item, that budget line item, and it's no increase to our budget. We're just realigning things. I make a motion to reallocate $145,000 from capital projects to special services animal care budget in the line item. So once again, this was originally in first reading and second reading allocated in one department. We want to reallocate it to give our special services better access and control where we can deal with our animal problem that we have here in Kershaw County.
If we need to.
If we need to. And I make a motion to the budget to an additional $2.5 million for project contingency in the sewer fund by moving the sum from the sewer reserves. We have in our reserves the ability to pay off the grant match of 2.5, and I want to make that motion so we can match that and satisfy the grant that we've been awarded at this time. I thought it was going to be an additional motions, but my accommodation tax was in my 5. So with that being said, those are my motions of amendments.
Do we have a second?
I would second that.
Seconded by Mr. Shoemake. All right, Mr. Tucker, you have the floor.
Let me just start off by saying thank you to Councilman Tomlinson and Councilman Shoemake for always willing and able to take time out so the Finance Committee can meet. I want to thank staff for their help and direction and services that they give us. We're at the last hour of this budget, and when we vote tonight, it's going to be about as hard as concrete can get unless you take a chisel to it. I know that this budget does not please each and every one of us as citizens here in Kershaw County, but we have worked tirelessly and hard in trying to do what we thought was in best interest for Kershaw County. And with that, I offer no apologies for folks that does not agree with this, because that's totally left up to them and their opinion. But I can tell you that it wasn't from not listening to people, it wasn't from lack of information, and it wasn't from hard work. These decisions are taken very seriously. These decisions are made with a lot of thought from our heads to our hearts. And so I made this statement before, Mr. Vice Chair. Remember that we represent all the people, not just the people that vote for you, not just the people that don't vote at all. We represent all people, and this is the best work that we can do for 23-24. At this time, I would like to yield my time to my colleagues that sat on finance. Mr. Shoemake.
Mr. Shoemake.
Yes, thank you. So, I think Councilman Tucker hit the most of it. What these amendments do specifically is they just sort of clean up some edges. They don't change the overall budget at all. They just help kind of move some things around. I would note, because there were some questions on item number 1, the $13 an hour. We have a handful of employees that make under that. So while the budget does allow for a cost of living increase for all county employees, for those county employees that come to less than $13 an hour after that cost of living, this would bring them to $13 an hour and create a new baseline going forward. Probably still doesn't make us competitive with some places, but, that still brings that low water mark so that no one in the county, full-time employee is making less than 13 an hour. So I think these are good amendments. I mean, overall on the budget, I'll just say this there, so I don't have to say it after. I agree it's a good budget. I mean, there's no tax increases, there's no millage increase, there's no fee increases. And I think that it does represent a concerted effort in a lot of long hours. I noticed some of the people who spoke against it have left, but I would say that, the rec thing has been talked about at length, just very quickly on that. What we did as a council is adjust that based on a lot of the comments that we have received. Again, I would say where I'm at, overwhelmingly, people reaching out, that was an issue that's concerned. Even one of the last speakers mentioned, maintaining what we have. So that's why what this Finance Committee ultimately did is come up with something that it's not travel ball at all, it's fixing the fields we have. So I think that's a great use of funds, particularly when we have those matched. And then overall, I think again, we're seeing raises in the sheriff's budget and other budgets. So I think it's a good budget.
All right, thank you. Any other comments on the amendments?
Ms. Thompson, you had anything? Okay.
I'll yield my time.
Well, let me just say this.
Mr. Jones.
No, you go ahead.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Couple of points to clarify. Line item 2 that's post 17, is that correct?
Yes, sir, that is. The American
Okay.
Legion, post 17. Good
Okay.
point. Yes,
I
sir.
wanted to make sure that
Yes,
we
sir.
clarified that is post 17, the American Legion. And I had a question for line item 5. So could we hear from the administrator regarding this? It says, I move to budget an additional $2.5 million for for contingency for the sewer fund. Does this save the grant? Is this part of the grant match? Can we ask that question?
Yes.
Chairman?
Yes, you can, because I've got some questions as well.
Okay, I'd like to hear how that went, and I need, before I can vote on this, I want to know if this saves that situation.
Yes, sir, this goes towards recovering that effort. We spoke with the Rural Infrastructure Authority last Tuesday, a week ago. So we're in conversation with that office on the original sewer project we had applied for with the SCIP grant, with the $10 million. So this was going to be $2.5 million in required contingency for that grant. So we're just taking this money that we had already identified and moving in from the capital reserves in sewer over to the operations budget. So as we hope this project will move forward with the SCIP grant. We're talking with the engineers on a phased approach. The SCIP office, if you will, indicated that the project they were most interested in included added capacity to our current wastewater facility. I feel like we've come up with a viable option for that, to meet that requirement. And the preliminary feedback we've received from Bonnie Ammons over at the state has been very positive. So, but to your point, yes, this goes towards that effort to adding capacity to the tune of 1 million gallons a day to our current wastewater treatment facility.
Okay, so last meeting, we charged you with the task of bringing us a solution, and it sounds like so far so good. Is that what I'm hearing?
That is my solution, is to add 1 million gallons a day capacity, actual capacity, not checkbook capacity, to our current facility. That will meet the requirements of what we had originally proposed. We originally proposed 2 million gallons a day. This breaks that project in half, and in phase 1, we will add 1 million gallons a day.
I like a man who knows how to bring back solutions. Thank you so much. Job well done. Thank you.
Go ahead, Mr. Tucker.
All right, thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. I was going to get to this, but I'll do it now. I'd like to read a prepared statement that the Finance Committee wrote. The Finance Committee has received, because we got this update from the administrator last week in our Finance Committee meeting, The Finance Committee has received the grant application and acceptance for potential sewer projects and wanted to offer the following update. In September, a sewer grant was applied for contingents of the county committing approximately $9 million in opera funds and securing a loan of approximately $12 million from the state revolving fund. So you'll hear me say that SRF going further. A fund which limited ability to, for certain projects. As the county learned more about the sewer's actual capacity, and given the sewer itself is solvent, the opera funds were tentatively recommitted pending third reading of the budget. More importantly, the county was not able to procure SRF funds. There was none available. The grant was later awarded contingency among other provisions on the county securing the $12 million SRF loan. The county administrator sent the grant application, but only after informing the grant provider that the opera funds was reprioritized that we were unable to secure the $12 million loan in the SRF fund. The county administrator and grant provider are actively working on identifying sewer projects for the grant, which still is possible, and using the funds generated by the sewer match. And I'm pretty sure in the administrative briefing, you'll get further and you'll be able to ask more questions. But that was what was told to the Finance Committee, and that's our report out on that, Mr. Chair.
What was the date of that Finance Committee?
That was at the Finance Committee, yes.
What was the date?
Ooh, let me look back on my calendar. That was a
think we met
Tuesday.
yeah.
It was Tuesday, whatever date last Tuesday was.
Last Tuesday.
So today is the 27th?
Last Tuesday.
20th.
Okay, so basically, we're just sending the 2.5, anybody else had anything else? So basically, we're sending the 2.5 million back to the sewer to just sit there, just in case we are able to move forward with a 1 million gallon per day project.
Now, it's in sewer reserve now.
Right.
We're just, we're actually now allocating it to be the match for the grant, is what we're doing, but it's in sewer reserves.
Yeah, I'll take a lot of things up here, and I'll continue to take it, but when someone refers to me as a liar, you know, I take a little bit of issue with that.
You're not saying what, you're not talking about what it is.
No. Some of our Republican Party friends. Listen, Mr. Templer, you did state in here on the 22nd of September 22 that you were going to apply for the state grant for sewer, correct?
Yes, sir.
You did do that. And we were awarded that, if I'm not mistaken, it was April 24th of 23, correct?
I don't have the exact date.
I got it right here. It was, and then on the 23rd of May, we sat in here and voted to use that same money and send it to the third reading for the budget for recreation, correct?
Yes, sir.
This council has taken a beating on this. When did you receive, when did you notify council that we were awarded this sewer grant?
It was during our budget meeting.
It was June 9th when I was told. June 6th is when you signed it, which was 45 days. That was the last day, 45 days, correct?
Yeah, so June 6th, I signed it, and then June 9th, it was submitted because we had 3 days of conversation.
Yeah. And then, of course, you know, after you signed it, you and I didn't meet prior to me saying anything publicly. Yeah, my point is, Mr. Vice Chair, to this county council, I'm not trying to take over this county council, but I'm going to take over Jimmy Jones. I knew nothing about this sewer grant until June the 9th.
I think, Mr. Jones, to your point, you and I were together in the agenda meeting when we learned of it, which was just before the June 13th meeting. Is that right?
Well, June the 9th, I was told personally. I was standing with Mr. Shoemake, I think right after maybe a meeting or something.
It was
And
after
Mr.
the
Shoemake
finance
made
committee.
Mr. Shoemake made his comments to me that was the first he heard of it as well. So we've just been called liars because we didn't know anything about it, but yet we didn't know it. I didn't know anything about it. Now, not upset with you. Look,
Sure.
Things happen, but I would like you to own up to it instead of us sitting here getting rammed about something we didn't know about by a couple of people. That just really, really bothers me. It doesn't bother me that somebody doesn't like, look, 80% of you folks out there know me. 80% of you folks out there have called me. I know I recognize a lot of faces. I've always been there for you. And I'll continue to be. We may not always agree, but I will be there for you. But I just want to clear, and I got some more comments in my council briefing that I will give to, as we got some truth tonight, I'm gonna give some facts, okay? And as I said, I'm not trying to take up for these guys, but they didn't know. I didn't know. And it's right here on date 6/6, which is the last day of the 45 days. The last day of the 45 days. Now, we got 2.5 million, and you did go meet with Ms. Bonnie. I'm glad you did. I appreciate it. And I am excited about the fact that you've worked very hard in trying to get a remedy to this. But when you signed the commitment on the 6th, that committed us, though. That committed to that 10.9, that called 9.9. That also committed the $2.6 million revolving bond. And council knew nothing about that. Now, we knew you were going to apply for it on the 22nd, no question, but we did not know it had been awarded to us till June 9th, at least for me, June 9th. But anyway, not trying to beat you up, just trying to state the facts. Because excuse me, because I was called a liar in here about something that I knew nothing about. Now, anyway, having said it, Mr. Tucker.
All right, I want to just make sure that in your documents that you have there for your supporting documents, Mr. Browser pointed out to make sure it was post 17, it is on your ATAX sheet.
Yes, it is,
Okay.
it is.
All right.
Okay, now, listen, we're dealing with the amendments, okay? So I want to make clear, the 2.5 is being transferred, line item transferred for the TIF grant, SCIF grant, if we get it.
Correct.
Correct.
And it's within sewer enterprise fund itself.
Correct, and I think that's a good thing, and I thank you for that, Danny. And also, but as it stands now, everything's just possibilities. There's no concrete on anything.
Sure, we've got a lot of work to do.
Yeah, we got to work through the rest of the money and how much we're going to put in this, that, and other. But thank you for getting right on that, getting on top of it. Okay, having said that, we've got the amendments on the floor.
Yes, sir.
All in favor? Is unanimous on the amendments? None opposed? Okay. All right, now going back, keep me in line here, Mr. DeVos.
You were on track.
I don't like it when they correct me up here.
That's the truth.
So anyway, now, so we've done the amendments. We're back to the motion on the floor. An ordinance to provide budget appropriations for county purposes, for County Kershaw for the fiscal year beginning July 1, 23, 24, and adopt and implement the change and collection of service and user rate fees, and for tax purposes, county appropriation purposes, and other matters, and also as amended. Am I correct on that? Correct. All right, so to vote for the, do I have a motion on that?
You won't need one the way you stated it.
Okay,
Yeah,
we're still under the same
Right.
original motion. Okay, then we can have some comments. Does anybody have anything else they want to say on the budget as amended? Well, I do. I have one quick thing I want to say. Mr. Templer, I've been here. This is dealing with the budget. I have been here 17 years. Maybe too long for a couple of my Republican Party friends, but not too long for the people who voted me back in. If they keep on, I may run again. But anyway, Mr. Templer, in 17 years, I've been through a lot of budgets. Now, I was also with the county for 26 years, retired law enforcement, jail administrator, bunch of stuff. But anyway, so I got about 45 years total in this. Your budget that you brought before this county council is one of the best budgets I've seen in the 17 years I've been here.
Thank you.
I mean, it really is. No fee increases, no tax increases. And I'm very impressed with that. I want to commend you for that. And I'm going to hold you and everybody else accountable when it comes to work for the people, because my loyalty is with the citizens of Kershaw County. But I'm going to also state a fact when I see it. And as I said, one of the best budgets I've seen. Now, I won't be voting for the budget tonight because I have a strong fist in the gut when it comes to the ARPA money being tied to it. If the ARPA money wasn't tied to it, I want you to know that I'd be voting for the budget you presented. So I don't want that to be, my negative vote on that to be any indication towards you and the work you've done on the budget. You and staff have done a great job on it. And my colleagues and I disagree. We disagree on the ARPA funds, but I'm very passionate about that. And I had a colleague of mine ask me today, he said, Jimmy, are you going to vote for the budget tonight? And I said, I was really tossing it up because I would love to support because we've got such a great budget, but I just cannot support the direction of the ARPA funds with the ball fields. But anyway, I thank you for the budget you presented, okay? So anyway, having said that, all those in favor of the budget for this year coming up, raise your hand. Let it be shown that Councilman Brazel, Councilman Tucker, Councilman Shoemake, Councilman Cato, and Councilman, what's your name, Thomason, all vote
Thank you, Mr.
in
Chairman.
favor, and all oppose, Jimmy Jones. And that's another issue, to say all of us, people need to get their facts right. All right, having done that, we'll shut that off. This budget session is closed.
Thank God.
All right, and we don't have to argue about ball fields another day, okay? All right, so let's move on to B. We have next, third reading of an ordinance setting the millage rate for Kershaw County for the fiscal year beginning July 1, 23. Do I have a motion?
Make a motion. Go ahead. You?
I would move to accept this motion or to pass the millage motion.
Mr. Shoemake moves to pass the millage. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Tucker seconds. Is there any discussion?
Mr. Vice Chair, if I may.
Finance Chairman, I'd appreciate an explanation on it.
I just want to say, I think you've already said it, thanks to staff, the Finance Committee, and council. We fought and we've duked things out, and we've had gentlemen discussions, and we probably said some words we would probably need to take back and pray about, but there is no millage increase, no fee increase. There's nothing different from 22 to 23 if you look at those line items on this millage, and I'm very proud of that because this does not affect the citizens of Kershaw County in a negative way, whether it's personal or whether it's business. And I'm very proud of that because there's many counties, I think it's 7 that are adjacent to Kershaw County, did not have the luxury this year. They got bit by the bug pretty heavily in taxes. So thanks to all of you. Thank you, Danny, and to your staff especially. Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman of the Finance Committee. Anybody else? I would like to say, Danny, thank you. This is great. I mean, this is something I will vote for, is your millage ordinance. And you did a good job on it. It is a balanced millage. There's no increase in millage, no increase in new fees. And let me tell you something, they tore us up the last 3 years. The past council tore us slap up. I mean, they used everything they could, to spend all they could. But thank you to this council for working hard on that, and I truly mean it. We got a great millage rate this year. Okay, all in favor? Let the record show that it is unanimous.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman of the Finance Committee. Now, moving along. Third reading, Kershaw County Code of Ordinance. An ordinance of Kershaw County to amend Chapter 2, Article X, Division 5 of the Kershaw County Code of Ordinances related to the planning and zoning. No public hearing is required. First reading was the 23rd of May, 23. Second reading was June 13th, 2023. And we're here for third reading tonight. Do I have a motion?
Just for clarity of the audience, the slide that is up is not what we're discussing right now.
Ryan's still asleep. He can't start the clock tonight. Wrong thing on the TV.
I just wanted to be clear, there we go. Sorry, Mr. Chairman.
That's fine. Thank you, Mr. Shoemaker.
And I would make a motion that we adopt this ordinance.
Okay, very good. We have a motion on the floor by Shoemaker to adopt this ordinance. Is there a second?
Second, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Tucker seconds. Okay, any discussion?
Mr. Vice Chair, I have an amendment to this ordinance, actually two, that I think will just enhance it a bit, and I'm happy to explain why once I get my motions on the floor. The first one would be, I would like to make a motion to amend Section 2-43, membership to provide for 3 consecutive terms for the commissioners. So if you look into your ordinance, I think it currently on second reading got passed on 2 terms. We want to extend that to 3 terms. So that's my first motion.
I would second that. I would second that.
Okay.
Okay. Reason, Mr. Vice Chair, is that this is one of the boards that require education training, and I believe it's 6 hours. If I'm mistaken, Mr. Joey back there he's nodding his head, so I've got the hook in the water in the correct spot. So it's 6 years, and then after that, reoccurring is 3 years, and every board member must take their educational classes. What I would like to, as one of the council members that sit up here, is not ever see that commission depleted to where you take out all of your knowledge, your institutional knowledge, and you're dealing with a lot of ordinances and laws and stuff and things you have to follow. So it's not just what we said, it's also what the state said. So for those reasons, I would ask for my colleagues to support the 3 terms versus the 2 terms. And then, of course, they can run again after sitting out a year, but I would ask for your support on that.
That's your amendment.
That's my amendment, yes,
Okay,
sir.
we have it seconded. Is there any other discussion? All those in favor of Mr. Tucker's amendment to third reading of the County Code ordinance, raise your hand. It's unanimous. Now, for third, excuse me.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair.
No, you're quite welcome.
Second one?
Go ahead.
Okay, thank you.
You got 2.
Yes, sir, I had 2. Yes, sir. So I would like to make a motion to amend section 2-414. And this section talks about having a 2/3 supermajority vote for council to remove someone for cause. That is my motion, and I'm happy to discuss once we get a second, if we get a second.
I'll
Okay.
second.
Mr. Tucker made the motion as an amendment. It was seconded by Mr. Cato. Any discussion?
Yes, sir, Mr. Vice Chair, if I may. So what this does, this holds council responsible. So if you have a board member that, let's say, has got a bullseye on he or she's back, council won't circle jerk the commission by taking people on and off. They have to have what we call a supermajority, so it has to be a 5-2 vote versus just a simple 4-3 vote. So it holds just everybody accountable. And that doesn't mean that they have to have a supermajority to be appointed. It just means they have to have a supermajority to be removed from the board for a cause.
Makes sense.
The only thing I would say just very quickly is this is the first, we're going through a lot of these ordinances and changing these commissions to clean them up. So I would just advise staff and legal counsel that should this pass tonight, it would be my recommendation that we put that 2/3 majority in to the other ones that we're doing, because I think that would reflect the will of the council. And that's all.
And we can do that at a later time. And I think that's very well spoken on that, Mr. Shoemake. Any other discussion on the amendment? All those in favor? It could show that it is unanimous. Now, we have to go back and vote on the, okay, gotcha.
Correct, the ordinance as amended.
Third reading of the ordinance as amended. All those in favor? Let the record show that it is unanimous. Very good.
Thank you.
A lot of hard work put into that, and I appreciate it, really do appreciate it, because you know that's something near and dear to me. All right, first reading, an ordinance to amend the zoning map of Kershaw County to rezone approximately 2.58 acres of property owned by Terry Coleman and located on the south side of Tickle Hill Road, approximately 1/4 mile north of Black River Road, Camden, South Carolina, from R15 to low-density residential to GD, general development. Do I have a motion to put this?
Mr. Vice Chair, may I have a point of order, please, sir?
You can.
At this time, I would ask that the council and the general public, excuse me, I'm going to recuse myself. This is a family member, and so therefore I do not want any conflict of interest as you guys make decisions, nor do I want to be involved in the discussion.
Very good. You're excused.
Thank you very much.
You can go to the back. All right. Do I have a motion?
I would make that motion for discussion.
All right. Mr. Shoemaker has made the motion for discussion on first reading, not take a vote.
Well, I guess I'm making the motion. I just have one question.
Okay, so you're making the motion to put it on the floor? Okay. So we have a motion to put it on the floor. Do we have a?
I'll second.
Okay, Shoemaker made the motion, and Councilman Brandt made the second. Any discussion?
The only thing I would say is staff is recommending that we do this, so I'll vote for it tonight. Obviously, we have 2 more readings, but one thing I just want to flag for everybody as we get into our second reading, two things. One is, we've just asked our staff to go back, and it's going in front of planning and zoning, to reduce some of these, or increase some of these minimum lot sizes. And I would just note that by taking this from residential to general development, what you will be doing is, I understand the use this gentleman has is unique, but in the future and in perpetuity forever, this becomes a commercial district that may be sandwiched in the midst of residential districts. Again, staff recommends I'm gonna vote for it tonight. I don't want to do my own homework, but I don't have an opinion of what that means. I just wanted to flag that for everybody. It's something we need to think about as we move forward on this.
Very good. Is there any other discussion? Let me say this, Mr. Shoemaker, I really appreciate the hard work you put into these zoning issues. You've taken this dinosaur on, and you've wrestled with it, and I think you've also worked closely with Mr. Brazel as well. So thank y'all so much, because this is something that definitely needs to be updated and modified. And I know it's getting a little bit off the subject, but anyway.
And, Mr. Chairman, may I ask a question to staff?
Absolutely.
And just reading through this property is currently residential, so one house. And is there any intel about what their future, what they want to do with this property? Because you have residences right beside. I know some people who live a couple houses down directly there. I know right in front of there, you do have, the Humane Society, right?
I think they're close by.
The Humane Society is right down, and that's the thing, auto body garage right in front of it, correct?
So this is it's an auto repair business.
Okay.
And so it is kind of out there, I think, is or not conditional, but it's a modified use. Yes, that is the caveat in here, that if you go forward with this, then it could be.
It could be open to anything.
Anything in the future. But currently the surrounding property owners you have a great relationship with this gentleman.
Yep.
It is obviously 6-0. Approving for the planning commission. So to Mr. Shoemaker's point, it carries a potential issue down the road if should the business ever change.
Mm-hmm. And one concern I do have kind of all these rezoning is that we're creating a precedence kind of going forward for anybody to kind of come up and look for rezoning issues. I think we need to kind of take that into account. But with this being first reading tonight, I mean, I will support this and appreciate all staff's work.
So, quick question. How long has the mechanic shop been there?
I'm just going back in personal memory. I would say 20 years.
The gentleman in the back raised his hand. He could tell us.
We're okay. We don't want to bring anybody from the audience up at the moment. We're in discussion. I apologize, but that's part of our rules. We're in discussion right now.
So anyway, to my point, it's been there for a long time, so I don't have any issue with rezoning.
Mr. Brazel, to your point, I believe there's a note buried in the staff report of 30 years.
30 years, okay. Perfect. I have no issue. Thank you.
All right. Any other discussion? All those in favor of first reading, raise your hand. Let it be shown that it is unanimous. So it goes on to second reading.
Mr. Chair, you want me to grab Mr. Tucker? No.
Yes, please. I already forgot about him. All right, welcome back.
Thank you.
Okay. We have a first reading of an ordinance to amend the official zoning map, Kershaw County, to rezone approximately 6.30 acres of property. TMS is 264000009, owned by Irving and Marshall Branham and located on the south side of Ridgeway Road, approximately 0.25 miles west of Smyrna Road, Ridgeway, South Carolina, and from a RD2 rural resource district to a B2 general business district. Do I have a motion to put this on the floor?
I'll make the motion to put it on the floor.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
All right, we have Mr. Brazel made a motion, Tucker made the second. Discussion. Okay, this is first reading. Go ahead, go ahead.
I'll be happy to talk if you'll allow it.
Please go ahead.
So I kind of see both sides of the debate. I too live out in the country, and on the other end of Springvale Road, as a matter of fact, just maybe 7 or 8 miles away from this location. Very familiar with Ravens Crossroads. The old salt pond farm and garden used to be just across the road from this parcel. So it is surrounded by houses, but it is surrounded by what was a feed and seed store. There's a commercial or retail fishing store there, and there is a BP. So, if you will, this is kind of the little hub of business at Ravens Crossroads. So for that reason, I have no problem with the rezoning because it is close to other commercial properties. I understand that that's not going to satisfy all people, but I think some years ago before I was on council, there was a similar instance in which on Longtown Road, there was a rezoning done and there was a Dollar General added there. And I'll have to say, my air conditioning broke over the weekend, or half of it did. And I had to go buy a few box fans Sunday night. And I popped into Dollar General and I bought 2 box fans. And I was back to my house within 10 minutes. So it's helpful. I think even the folks that are opposed it will end up using it. It's not a bad thing for a rural community. So with that being said, it'll have my support tonight. Thank you.
This is also first reading. Is any other discussion?
Just for, oh, sorry.
No, you.
Go ahead, Ms. Schumate.
I was just going to say, I'm leery on these first readings of voting against staff until I have a chance to really digest. So staff in this particular, unlike the last one that came before us, staff recommends we not rezone this. So I'm probably a no vote tonight, but I do plan to look through this. I will say that Mr. Branham called me, we talked, I think it was yesterday, and I appreciate everything he said. I've also talked to some people who are opposed to it. So I'm just going to study this a little more. I suspect it has the votes to carry tonight regardless, but I do want to make it clear. I haven't made up my mind on this, but I'm going to go with staff's recommendation to start with.
Any other discussion? Go ahead, Mr. Tucker.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. I'm of the opposite of Mr. Shoemate here, and I normally never go against what staff recommends, but let me at least state my reasons why. Number one, I have not been out to the site to visit. I have not talked to any staff personnel on this. I like to do my due diligence, and I've been on night shift, so it's kind of hard to see folks when you trying to get a little bit of sleep so you don't hurt someone or hurt yourself at work. I say that because it's 3 readings, and I'm not going to say that where I'm going to be the next 2, but if you kill this project, my colleagues, I'm talking to you now tonight, then it doesn't have a chance for folks to do their due diligence. And I've heard my colleague to my left here, Mr. Shoemate, says he has work to do. I want more time. I think Councilman Brazel is good, and that's okay, but I'm asking, if nothing else, let's carry it over so at least we can do our due diligence, and then you can vote however you want to vote come second reading. I was a part, Mr. Brazel, of that controversial Dollar General on Highway 5. And it got really heated, and I was the one that supported it from the beginning. There was a lot of folks come up here talking about how they didn't want it. It was bad. People hang out by Dollar Generals. But I had to quickly remind them that I'm United Methodist, and there's a United Methodist church sits right there in that crossroad. And you got a juke joint been over across the street since I've been a little boy. Ain't no one ever came in there and talked about how the juke joint's affecting the Christian folks that's trying to get a little bit of Jesus. But all of a sudden, this Dollar General was the worst thing ever happened. I think Dollar General has come a long way. What I'm afraid of and have not had my answer is this spot zoning, because spot zoning is illegal and I will not support. And I will not have those answers until I visit the site and I talk with staff. So that's my due diligence. Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair.
Thank you. Any other discussion?
I'd like to say just one more thing. My dad calls the Dollar General the Longtown Mall. So for people who live out in the country, such as us, cat food, quarter milk, loaf of bread, it's really nice. And just to really quickly address the spot zoning issue, again, they're commercial properties right around it. So for those reasons, I'm okay with it, and I will support it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Brazel. Go ahead, Mr. Cato.
I want to just say that I will be supporting this tonight on the first reading for the same reasons as Councilman Tucker and Councilman Brazel. I do have a little reservation. Ms. Ray brought up a good point that what if this project with Dollar General was to fall through after we rezone? So I guess if there was one thing that I really want to look at, that would be it. That would be something I'd like a little bit better clarification on. I'd like a little bit of reassurance, I guess I should say, on that particular point. But other than that, I believe that it does need to go through, and we need to have further discussions about this rezoning. So I will be supporting it on the first reading tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cato. Any other discussion? Okay. All in favor? First reading pass. Raise your hand. We got Mr. Brazel, Mr. Tucker. Were you a yes or no?
I was a no, but I didn't know you were counting.
Okay.
He has to go to church
Tucker,
Sunday.
okay, and Mr. Cato and Mr. Tomley and myself vote in favor. All against. Mr. Schumate votes against. So it passes on a 5-1 vote or to move forward for second reading. Thank you, gentlemen. All right. Going to F, we have a first reading of an ordinance to amend the official zoning map of Kershaw County to rezone approximately 46 acres, plus or minus, of property 06300000104, 113, 114, 115, 116, 177, owned by James F. Kelly the fourth, and located on the east side of Kershaw County Highway, just north of the Carolina Motor Sports Park, Kershaw, South Carolina, from an RD2 rural district to a GD general developed district. To have a motion, put this on the floor.
Make a motion we approve this first reading on this 46-acre plot.
Mr. Tucker makes the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Mr. Brazel, second. All right, is there any discussion?
I would just like to jump in, a bit of a broken record, but staff recommends this one, so I'll be voting for the first reading. But again, I also want to say, as we look at this has the same sort as we're talking about zoning and things, just please be very careful as we start taking residential areas and making them commercial. I'm not saying that we shouldn't do it, and I understand the reasoning here is they have a racetrack, they're trying to buy up the area around it. It's contiguous with a commercial use. I understand that and probably will support it. I'm being extra cautious about these, turning these residential districts into commercial districts. That's all.
Thank you. Mr. Schumake, any other discussion? Mr. Cato?
I yield.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I too, just as in the last ordinance, the rezoning, I would like to hear a little bit more about the future plans, if they could possibly give that to us. I will be supporting this tonight on the first reading so that we can dig into this a little bit deeper. But it's a great opportunity from what I understand so far for Kershaw County, but I would like to hear more about what they've got to say as far as the future plans of this development.
Thank you, Mr. Cato. Mr.
Chairman.
Yes.
I yield to Mr.
I think Ms. Tucker was next.
No, go ahead.
Go ahead.
I just wanted to speak to my fellow council members that we had a similar, the same thing basically. He bought some property 2 years ago whenever I was in my first year, and I voted against it. And I was admonished for voting against it, but I too shared those same sentiments that you have. Hey, this is turning residential area into general development. But after conversation with the gentleman, Mr. Cummings, it became very clear that they were very devoted to the project. They're very devoted to the community. I think there were even some instances in which he bought and donated vehicles to certain nonprofits, just trying to go the extra mile and be a good steward of the community. But what I'll say this is an economic development project because he's building a racetrack, and you're talking about millions and millions and millions of dollars. So I guess you can look at what the racetrack did in Darlington. It's a different type of racing, but this is a very positive impact for the community and for Kershaw County as best I can tell. Thank you.
Mr. Tucker.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. Councilman Browser, you're dead on. I've been here for all of his rezonings and development. He has done magnificent things out there with his property. And being a big race fan, and I like drag racing, NASCAR. You put a motor in and go fast, I'm your fan. I like to drive too. But with that type of entertainment out there, I personally wouldn't want to be close to the racetrack because it makes a lot of noise. Now, it's not done, during bad hours or anything, but at the same time, cars with no mufflers are very loud. And he has really drawn a tremendous attraction, the crowd out there, and is developing. And as the events continue to get bigger, we're going to run out of hotels here in Camden. I see that's coming because he fills the ones up in Camden, and he fills the ones up in Kershaw with his events. And this might be another spot where we'll be able to maybe put some heads and beds out there for the future. I don't know what his plans are, but I will be supporting this tonight.
All right, any other discussion?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead.
I will also be in support of this tonight. I agree that I would like to hear more about it. The Motorsports Park brings in a ton of tourism to the county, bunch of revenue, tax revenue, sales revenue, plus taxpayer money that they pay, and they've always been good stewards since they've been here. Very respected around the community, especially in the area. I think they are one of the good community partners that we look to keep. And something like this is, they're buying the surrounding land to expand their current location in an area that is one of the most ruralest parts of the county as is. I would like to get more information, but I will be supporting this tonight.
But there's nobody left. Okay. All those in favor, raise your hand. All right, it passes unanimously. All right, moving along, number 9, new business. A letter to SCDOT from the administrator conveying Kershaw County's desire to leave the Central Midlands COG, Columbia Area Traffic Study, COATS, and be replaced in the Santee Lynch's COG for transportation planning efforts in non-urbanized areas. Do I have a motion for that?
I make a motion that we approve this letter to remove us from Coates and enter us into the Santee Lynch's Regional Council of Governments.
I second that.
Okay, Mr. Tucker motions and Mr. Shoemake seconds. Discussion.
Yes, Mr. Vice Chair, if I may. This is a 20-something-year-old loan coming of Kershaw County's desire. Having to be a part of 2 COGs is very exhausting. And Mr. Templer can tell you he's been here almost double-digit years soon to be. And when you're the small fish in the pond, when you're over there and dealing with Lexington and Richland, you're like the tadpole in the Atlantic Ocean. You get nothing. So for those reasons, I'm happy to bring this into the Santee Lynch's, where all the rest of the services are from. You got your housing, your council on aging, your transportation. We have everything but from the river back to Richland County transportation into Santee Lynch's. So why leave your one child abandoned? So we're bringing them back home. And with that, I pledge to you as chair of the Santee Lynch's Regional Council of Governments Board that I will work, and the Madam Chair, who's a member of the board, very tirelessly in trying to get projects in the West Watery area so we can make safer roads over there from US 1 to White Pond and other intersections. But before I could not do that because legally we did not have the funds that came to us. They went to Richland, and they did Richland projects and Lexington projects, and Kershaw and Fairfield and Calhoun got left out. So for those reasons, I support this letter 110%, Mr. Vice Chair.
Mr. Shoemake.
Yes, so this is, Councilman Jones, yourself and I are the two people I think who are going to, the districts we represent is going to be particularly impacted by this, because we represent what is West Water Reed. Well, you as well, but you just talked. So, so I want to thank Councilman Tucker for his work in this. I also want to thank our legislative delegation.
Yes.
Representative Connell, Senator McElveen, Senator Gustafson. I mean, they were able, I know particularly Representative Connell went and pushed for this issue very hard, having been on this body and seen how necessary this was. So this is huge for Elgin. One of the things we get a lot of questions about is, hey, when are you going to widen this road, or what are you going to do this? 99% of paved roads outside of neighborhoods are state roads in this county. So our ability to do infrastructure when we talk about roads is very limited. It's the COG that has to do it. So the fact that we're going to be able to move these things over into the COG in the same time frame, and we have a council member that's chair and our chairwoman is a member, it's substantial. I can tell you I have already reached out to Councilman Tucker on multiple occasions on behalf of Elgin, just reminding him that he's responsible for taking those calls now. So thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussion on council? I'd like to, and I'm going to take the floor. Mr. Templer, I want to thank you for the work you've put into this. I think I know you've done a lot of work behind the scenes, and but I don't want to, I'd have to remove myself. I didn't recognize you on that. You've done a good job on that, and I appreciate it very much.
Thank you.
And I think you even put this on the agenda, made sure it was on the agenda the correct way. We appreciate all that. Yeah, it's been a long time coming. The two of us up here who've been here too long. It's been long.
Yeah.
That's what she said. But anyway, long time coming, and this is going to be a good move for the entire county. So anyway, all those in favor? Let the record show that it is unanimous. Okay. All right. Good job, Danny. Council briefings. I'm going to start with Mr. Brazel.
Thank you, sir. I don't have a whole lot to say, but I will say tonight that I'm glad that we've reached the final vote on the budget. It's the first budget that I've supported, being that there were no tax increases. There's been debate and there's been argument about what we've done for Kershaw County and how we've spent certain monies, but let me tell you, from my standpoint, today the citizens won. The future of Kershaw County won.
Amen.
The children, the parents, the young parents, people who want to live here, work here, and raise their family in Kershaw County won tonight. Special interest didn't win. The people won. And that's what I want to really express tonight, and I'm so happy for that. So with that being said, that's all I had to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Brazel. Mr. Tucker.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. Three things. We've already talked about the COG, so thank y'all for supporting the letter. And I thank administration for getting that out. They will take a vote, and I say they, that would be the MPO, the Central Midlands COG, next month. That's why it was important or imperative to get the letter out this month so they can have it for their agenda next month. And the Santee Lynch's Regional Council government has already voted. We voted earlier this month, and our letter's already been sent over to that appropriate board. Thanks, guys, and to Madam Chair for supporting the process of this budget. I know we've got some physical and also psychological differences about the budget, but overall, I think all of us who are up here will be able to live within the budget. And I want to say thank you to staff again. And my two BFFs, Shoemate and Tomlinson, you're a heck of a guys, man, and I will continue to say that publicly. I want to also, I don't do this too often, Mr. Vice Chair, but I don't know what exactly you did over Father's Day weekend. I don't know whether you had some magic or something sprinkled on you, but you ran a heck of a meeting tonight, and I'm very proud of you. Not to say that you couldn't do it, but I mean, you surprised me even more. And so for that, I want to say thank you and great job. I want to say to all of you that's here tonight, happy 4th of July. Stay safe. That's coming up Saturday. For the weekend, I know we got to work Monday, but some of y'all probably call out that you're ill, so you'll get a long weekend. I didn't suggest that to any employees, Danny, either. I was just saying. But do be safe and, keep your family safe. With that, that concludes my report, Mr. Vice Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Tucker. Mr. Schumake.
Three quick things, Mr. Chair. So 2 things related to Elgin. For those of you who follow the Elgin local politics scene, Mr. Ed Smith has resigned from town council. So if those of you who live in the town limits of Elgin interested in running, that's going to be coming open fairly soon. So they're doing a lot of heavy lifting with just a few people over there. I'm going to be hosting a town hall, going to try to invite the local school board members and anyone else who wants to come speak and just do some question and answers there in Elgin particularly about growth, which I think is the big issue that at least I'm looking to tackle. So I'll announce that after the 4th and try to do what I can to advertise that in the papers and in social media. The only other thing I really want to say is that, a lot of people have said this throughout the last few months, and I really couldn't agree more. I think what we've got to do is fix what we have. I think that means we fix the rec we have, we fix the EMS we have, we fix the people, we fix the things for the people that are here. And that's what I think this budget is doing. And the last thing I'll say to echo what Councilman Tucker said is, Councilman Jones, I think you ran an extremely tight meeting, and I very much appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, y'all haven't heard my final comments yet.
We'll take it back.
Mr. Chairman, thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm going to be brief. I would like to make an announcement that we do have a community event coming up on July 15th, Saturday, July 15th, the South Carolina 7 Expedition, which is an expedition from the mountains to the sea across South Carolina, starting in Oconee County on the 1st, ending in Charleston, following the Palmetto Trail, highlighting the 7 wonders of South Carolina identified. But they will be spending July 15th in Kershaw County, doing a waterway cleanup, kayaking the Wateree River, which would be 1.7 miles, starting at Veterans Park, getting out in the Environmental Training Center, right down the river, 1.7 miles, and then it'd be a hurricane hike with a optional, if you want, you can get a 45-pound pack and do the hurricane hike, but hike the Chotty Trail from the training center all the way to the Revolutionary War Park, and then a free community event with food, music, fellowship will be at the Revolutionary War Center following that. So it should be from 10 to about 4 o'clock, and food, drinks. We'd love to have as many people come out and join. I think it's going to be a good day. We're going to have a lot of people in the community, and it'd be good to have community support. Last thing, I just wanted to say I'm happy to be a part of the Finance Committee. Appreciate everybody's hard work, especially staff. They're the ones who really put all the time and effort into making our jobs easier. That is a great blessing to have such good staff that takes the time. You know that when a piece of paper is in front of you, they have done all their due diligence, and it's wonderful to have that trust in staff. But I'm happy to support a budget that, like others have said, no fee, no tax increases, especially in a time that I don't know, a few people mentioned in their public comments that everything is inflated around the nation, and we've managed to have a budget that without fees, without tax increases, that has taken care of many things in our community. And, one thing at a time. We can't change everything every night. But I tell you what, if we work together, we can change something.
Amen.
So, but thank y'all.
Thank you, Ms. Thompson. Mr. Cato.
I just got a few things. I wanted to mention a few things that was going on in the northern part of the county. I know Bethune has several things going on Saturday. One being at 2 o'clock at the Bethune Rec Center. They're going to have a book signing. A native from Bethune, Miss Bradley, Miss Helen Pitts Bradley, will be signing her novel that she has recently written, Breach of Trust. So she'll be there doing that. And then they're going to have a Bethune High School reunion at 3:30, and then the 4th of July celebration about 5:30 in the park there. So several things going on there. I also just want to thank the staff. I want to thank Danny and the administration on a great job y'all did this year with the budget. I want to thank the Finance Committee, and I also want to thank each and every one of the council members. Every single one of them I'm not the only one I know that was new this year, but I can tell you I learned a lot, and they were able to answer every question that I asked and didn't hesitate to answer it, and I had plenty of them. So I thank them for that. I really do, and it was a great experience, one that I am glad is over, but it was a great experience. Lastly, I would just like to extend my condolences to the family of Reverend Homer Henson. Reverend Henson was a pastor in and around Kershaw County for many, many years. He was an absolutely great man. And he had his services this week at Pine Grove Baptist Church. And there's nothing I could say to explain Mr. Reverend Henson, and he was just a great guy. So my condolences go out to him and his family. He pastored in Bethune at Harmony Baptist Church for many years, and he was a great guy. So my condolences to them. Everybody have a safe 4th. Look forward to seeing you at the next meeting.
Okay, we're not done yet. All right. Everybody has spoken. Now it's my turn.
Dissertation.
Excuse me. Don't move my papers anymore, please. I want to address something tonight that I was labeled at, and I just want to clear the record. And I'm going to address the headlines of the Chronicle Independent editorial. It was an opinion by Editor Martin Kahn that I engaged in a preempted strike against the county administrator dealing with ARPA funds. Folks, there absolutely was no preemptive strike involving the county administrator. I fully supported and voted to hire our county administrator. I hold people accountable. Holding people accountable is not a preemptive strike. So, for the sake of the politicians, the bureaucrats, the media, I'm going to go over exactly what I said again, since my words get twisted. And these are the facts as stated, as I told some of the members of our local Republican Party here tonight, which I don't support our local Republican Party. But bottom line is, when they refer to facts, the truth, I'm going to refer to the facts, and they go hand in hand. And so these are the facts as stated in the WIS interview as I stated in the council meeting on Tuesday, June 13, 2023. I had previously discussed with Mr. Temple, our county administrator, there was no preempted strike. There was, in fact, a double allegation, nothing illegal, but it was a double allegation of funds. No question about it. I mean, there's nothing else you can say to that. And the county administrator informed county council in September 22 that he intended to apply for a state grant for sewer and ARPA funds, which would be matched. On April, that's 2022, April 24, 23, the state awarded Kershaw County a $10 million grant for sewer as a part of the state sewer grant. Kershaw County had committed to using the ARPA funds as a match. Council was not informed of the award of the grant. In May 2023, Kershaw County allocated the same ARPA funds shown as a match to the state grant to public safety radios and recreation. At that time, council was not informed that the same ARPA funds were shown as a match for the state $10 million grant awarded in April by the state. In June, the county accepted the $10 million grant that was allocated by ARPA funds match. Council was informed after the $10 million sewer grant was accepted by Kershaw County staff that the grant had been awarded to Kershaw County and that the grant award had allocated $10 million in ARPA funds as a match for the grant, along with the revolving bond of 2.6 and some other stuff. Anyway, as I stated, there was no misappropriation of funds, but there was a double allocation of the ARPA funds without council being informed. There was never any allegations of malfeasance. It was never made by me, as the editorial falsely implies. This is what I think I get when you ask for transparency against the establishment. There was a complete lack of communication as to the sewer grant award and accepted by Kershaw County using ARPA as a match. You know, I've rewrote this quite a few times because I was kind of calming it down. In my opinion, the Chronicle Independent and the editor has consistently targeted my insistence on transparency. I have been called bombastic. I have been called a former disgruntled employee in the past, and now I'm labeled as this. In my opinion, the editor of the Chronicle Independent is more concerned about making the news than reporting the news. And in my opinion, the newspaper attacks my insistence on transparency in government, and it has done for many, 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 many years. That's my opinion. And also, in my opinion, it is a shame for the Chronicle Independent to endorse a candidate for chair of Kershaw County Council who lost. So, where's the bipartisan, where's the fair when it comes to, oh, and by the way, too, and I also said this, that, so then they claim to be bipartisan while unfairly attacking a council member for transparency as well, and that is Jimmy Jones. That's why I take issue when someone refers to me as preempted strikes, sneaking up on somebody, or referring to me as a liar. I'm not a liar. I didn't get elected 5 times lying and misleading the people. And I'll tell you something else, too. I don't work for politicians. I don't work for bureaucrats. And I definitely don't work for any political party. I work for you, the people of Kershaw County. And when you call me, I'm going to be there. It's as simple as that. I feel like politicians, bureaucrats, we get elected, we can get in a bubble and not realize really what the big story is, the big picture is. Well, I feel like some of the politicians, some of the bureaucrats, and some of the media have certainly lost contact with the citizens of Kershaw County. So, folks, I'm here. I may be here another 20 years. I may be here another 30 years. I haven't decided yet. But if you want to run against me, get on the ticket, because we'll go for a horse ride. Having said that, I want to thank, even though I did not agree with y'all on the Finance Committee, I want to thank you for the hard work you put into it.
You're welcome.
I did not agree on the ball fields, y'all know that. And, but y'all did, you guys worked hard, and you stood by what you think is right. But anyway, having said that, that concludes my report. I don't think I missed, did I miss anything, Mr. Bose, Mr. Templer?
Not that I'm aware of, sir.
All right.
If you did, can you save it?
But let me tell you this, I think now, if I may, bear with me one moment. I'm going to go ahead and let that conclude the council briefing. Mr. Administrator, do you have anything you will say?
Yes, sir, just a couple things. On the budget, I'm extremely proud of the finance team, Tyler, Gerald, Lauren, and Sandra. This is tabbed as my budget, but I think it's our budget. It's everybody's budget. This is the part that's, it's relatively easy. Now we got to live within it. So to me, that's the true mark of the budget is how we look this time next year. So, but there was a lot of hard work going into it, and the Finance Committee was a real neat and welcomed addition. So that was instrumental in helping us interface with council when council wasn't always together for council meetings, and so that is just I was kind of not concerned, but just curious how it would work, but it was very efficient, and again, it was a useful tool, a useful item to help us get done what we wanted to. We can bounce ideas off y'all immediately, and that was just very, very valuable. The COG impact is just, to me, it is a win-win-win. We've been a donor for Richland County and Lexington County projects as it relates to intermodal transportation for decades, and we just couldn't compete. Now we will be a recipient as opposed to a donor for transportation needs. Mr. Tucker is correct. It would be our strategic move to go and look over in the West Waterway area for opportunities to improve transportation over there, because this was also the product of our or 2020 census. So we have this for 10 years, and they could come back into Kershaw County, they being CMCOG. So we want to do what we can over in the West Waterbury side with the money we'll have here in Kershaw County as it relates to transportation as early and often as we can to not have to compete for CMCOG dollars in the years to come. The SCIP grant award, you know, looking back, there's probably 20 different opportunities I could have done things different. If I had a magic wand, I'd go back and do things different. And you know, it's never my goal to make anyone on this council be caught flat-footed, to have to explain something they're not informed of, to look in a particular way to your constituency that is not favorable. I understand what y'all do. I know what y'all do behind the scenes. I know how my phone rings, and I know how hard y'all work. So if I have put y'all in a position that is unfavorable, or if you are caught flat-footed out on the street, that I apologize. That is not my job to do. It's my job to support y'all. Again, I just offer my heartfelt, sincere apologies. I've worked with a lot of y'all for a long time. I've known some of y'all even longer. But, you know, will I make mistakes again? Probably. Do I always learn from the mistakes I've made? Absolutely. So, Mr. Jones, if you were caught flat-footed by anything I've done, I apologize for that.
And I accept that, and I thank you so much, Danny.
So I won't take up too much more time. I know we have executive sessions, but I just wanted to offer that clarification.
Well,
So thank y'all.
That's really big of you, and I
You're
appreciate
welcome.
that. Now, and thank you for that report, and thank you for staying on top of the, and keep us informed on the sewer before anything's signed. Okay. All right. Moving next, legal briefing.
No legal briefing other than privileged information for executive session.
So you're asking for an executive session?
Correct.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I would then make a motion that we go into executive session for the purpose of receiving legal advice and also discussing two potential economic development matters.
Okay.
I would second that.
May I ask for clarity, Mr. Vice Chair?
You sure can.
Who's invited? That's you. Who's invited? You have to state.
I would say I would invite our, obviously, the administrator and our legal counsel.
How about economic development, Jeff Burgess?
Yeah, we can get Mr. Burgess in the interim after the first.
Mr. Burgess as
briefing
needed.
concludes.
Okay,
Yeah.
there you go.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Is there all in favor of executive session? Raise your hand. By the way, we will not be long, because one thing I can't stand is lengthy executive sessions. No, not the one thing. Okay, do I have a motion to come out of executive session?
Make motion to come out of executive session, Mr. Vice Chair.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Let me just say 2 issues were discussed. No action was taken, no consensus was taken, and we did it in a very timely fashion. I want to thank my colleagues for doing that.
Vice Chair Jones, just for clarity.
Go ahead.
Three matters were discussed, just to.
I'm sorry,
for the
3,
record.
it's 3.
Yeah, sorry.
Okay, very good. All right. All in favor, coming out of executive session, raise your hand. Let the record show that it's unanimous. Also, I guess we're going to adjourn, if y'all want to.
Yes, sir. We can
Do I have a motion, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion, we adjourn.
Second.
Second. All in favor? Unanimous. Did you get who made the motion, who's second? You're quick. And thank you, Ms. Hannah, for all you do. We're adjourned.